people I picked up was Peter Max, who was a really famous visual artist. He was compared favorably to Andy Warhol. At the same time, he made hippie psychedelic stuff. And he was in my cab, he climbed in and he wanted to do 3 stops. And 3 stops is always bad. It's like the worst thing, you don't make any money. But I said, 3 stops. And I was happy he was in the cab because I loved his artwork, but I didn't tell him I knew who he was. And so he said, don't worry, kid, I'll take care of you. And I was like, oh, that's the phrase you don't want to hear because it usually means you won't get taken care of. So we got to the 3rd stop, and it was $6.80, and he gave me $7. And that really made me mad. So that year on my Christmas tape, I made a Christmas tape about my experiences in New York each year. I made sure to point out what a chiseler and weasel Peter Max was. And the whole time we were riding in the car, it wasn't only the bad tip that he gave me. He did a lot of, like, he was talking about cheating people. He was talking about being a kind of a low-down, dirty dog. And it just was, it was just so strange because I had always associated him with this flower power, hippie kind of mentality. But he was a cheap, mean person, at least in my impression. Over the next 4 years in the cab, strangely, I kept picking him up somehow. And our paths crossed in New Orleans at one point. It's a long, complicated story. But at the end of my Peter Max cycle, you know when your meter runs out of paper and you have to come back to the garage? It's a terrible thing, right? Because you lose an hour of time. My meter ran out of paper one Sunday morning, and I was really mad, and I turned around to go back to the garage, and I was sitting on a corner with my off-duty light on, and these 2 people climbed in, these 2 Asian ladies, dressed in identical jogging suits. And they said, you must wait one moment, a very important artist coming to be in the cab. And it's like, okay. Around the corner comes Peter Max. So Peter Max is, I said, I can't get rid of this guy, he's everywhere. And he climbs in the front seat, and he's sitting with me. And I looked at him and I said, the meter's broken, so I can't really turn it on. And he said, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Same thing he had said like 6 years earlier. I just kind of looked at him like, right. And then he started this dialogue with the ladies in the back about these weird esoteric spiritual practices and the Chinese guy, and how the Chinese guy was going to allow them to use their 3rd eye to see into the 4th dimension, where they would locate this thing called the infinite mind. The infinite mind. And it was like, okay, well, I hope when you get to the 4th dimension they teach you how to tip there, And we got to the end of the ride, and I said, it was like a short ride, it should have been like $2 or $3. And I said, well, we're here, gonna take care of me? And he handed me a $10 bill. And I said, that's far more than the fare would have been. And he said, don't worry about it, kid. Same thing he said. It was like this weird eternal return, like the philosophical model of the eternal return. And so I wrote a song on this record, kind of spurred by that, called The Infinite Mind. It was started by these strange encounters with Peter Max in the back of my cab, just like you and I are sitting now.